Chapter 5, Understanding Target Audiences. We're going to define our target audience based on product usage, look at target audience descriptors like demographics, psychographics, and behavioral, target insights, and look at ways of measuring target audiences, from Nielsen's to Simmons to ComScore. At this point, we've examined what is preventing us from achieving our business goal and determined whether or not it is about why people do or don't engage with our brand. Based on our marketing objective, we need to determine whether we're going to talk to current users, lapsed users, or bring entirely new people into the franchise. Using Starbucks as an example, if we assume that we have determined that we need to get current Starbucks drinkers to drink more, we'll take a look at the profile of existing Starbucks consumers. Brands generally break down their current customer base into heavy, medium, and light consumers. The exact definition of this is dependent on how consumption breaks down into 3 equal parts. But let's assume that a heavy Starbucks user is someone who drinks Starbucks every day. A medium consumer comes in at least once a week and a light consumer once a month. Depending on the size of our customer base and our goals, the client determines whether to try to get the lighter user to buy more drinks a month or get the medium user to come twice a week. Depending on the marketing strategy, the communications planner will try to get a good picture of that consumer profile and target others who exhibit similar behaviors. Another option would be to target what are known as lapsed users. They have visited a Starbucks, but not in a while. You can try to understand why they don't come more frequently and target that group of people. And finally, if increasing market share is an objective, then we might want to target non-users and try to bring them in. This is probably the riskiest of strategies because we need to understand why they're not currently interested in Starbucks. Sometimes it's not about the brand, but about the need. Starbucks could also target people who are on the go and thirsty. These people aren't necessarily discerning about the brand. They're looking for a convenient solution to their problem. Demographics refer to statistical data that can describe a group of people based on a number of factors such as age, gender, race, and income. Psychographics is the study and classification of people according to their attitudes, aspirations, and other psychological criteria, especially in market research. Behavioral measures how consumers are currently acting, whether that be shopping behavior, browsing behavior, or social media behavior. Demographics have historically been used as the primary descriptors because those were the metrics that were used to define media audiences. Demographics were the currency in trading media. Psychographics would be used to add texture and were used in planning decisions to drive context. Behavioral arose through the growth of digital media and increasing electronic payment methods, which were more trackable. Today, you can look at a combination of all 3 categories when defining your target audience. Demographics are least useful in understanding consumer insights, however. Insight occurs when people recognize relationships or make associations between objects and actions that can help them to solve new problems. People don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. This is the reason we can say that people don't buy what we do, they buy why we do. And what you do simply serves as the tangible proof of what you believe. People seek to connect their why to your brand. Understanding their why will help to identify those who are most likely to embrace your brand message. Getting to insights is hard. If everyone in the room is shaking their head in agreement, if you can point to an observational example to prove your point, you're not quite at an insight. If there is a human truth, a moment of, wait, I hadn't thought about it that way before, chances are you've landed on an insight. Nielsen measures television ratings and radio ratings, and the demographic data includes internet audiences, social media audiences, cinema audiences, and newspaper audiences. Nielsen has owned the TV ratings business since the early days. Having launched in 1936, Nielsen was there at the beginning of television. While the ratings game has become much more complicated, Nielsen still measures television ratings through random access modeling methods. This allows them to project ratings to the entire U.S. based on a small sample of households. This is done through a combination of people meters, set meters, code readers, and diaries. While Nielsen's statistical methods are sound when looking at mass audiences, their ability to capture the long-tail networks becomes more problematic. As more networks are appealing to smaller audiences, sample sizes cannot always capture them accurately. RenTrack came along to attempt to address that problem. Note that RenTrack was recently purchased by ComScore. RenTrack also entered into agreements with cable and satellite operators to capture the viewing data that is available through set-top boxes. With access to close to 30 million homes, RenTrack has a much more sizable data set. However, that comes with limitations as well. They capture data from the homes who subscribe to the operators who have agreed to share the data. There are likely statistical anomalies in the home, not the least of which is that they pay for cable or satellite service, so they are inherently slightly more upscale and increasingly older. The second is that there's no demographic data available. They make many of the same inferences that Nielsen does in their non-people meter homes, but it is still statistical estimates. The bigger issue both companies are faced with is cross-media usage. That is what made the ComScore merger make so much sense. Both companies are allocating tremendous time and research behind cracking that nut. Nielsen radio ratings are measured using ppms to adapt to the mobile nature of radio. Nielsen also measures online audiences through their total internet audience metric, and activity results in a digital ad rating metric, and monitors campaign activity and provides traditional reach and frequency and GRP metrics to the online campaign. Two major companies have been measuring consumer behavior and attitudes for decades: Simmons and MRI. MRI publishes the Survey of the American Consumer twice a year, while Simmons publishes 5 separate studies: National Consumer Survey, which is a survey of adults 18 and over; National Hispanic Survey Study, a survey of Hispanic adults 18 and over; National Teen Survey, which is a survey of teens aged 12 to 17; National Kids Survey, a survey of kids aged 6 to 11; and Simmons Connect, a research study that helps shape the internet, and both use slightly different methodologies. ComScore uses similar sampling methodology as Nielsen. Recruitment occurs exclusively online, and it identifies at-work versus home computers. RenTrack merger opens up the opportunity for cross-platform measurement to compete more directly with Nielsen. Behavioral data is what is fueling the innovation in consumer targeting today. With a trail of information following you from your Google searches to your web browsing, fits-all answer. Advertisers will use a combination of data to identify and reach their potential audiences. Let me know if you have any questions.